This video is going to be a little bit different than what I would normally do here on this channel. This one is really going to try to be more motivational and to help you because it's Labor Day, it's Monday. I'm actually traveling right now, so I'm in a hotel room and there's been a lot of things on my mind. I've been reliving the past a little bit and thinking about some people that I missed that are no longer here. I've been thinking about things that they taught me or things that I wish I'd been able to pass on to them that could have made their lives easier while they were here. And it's just really been emotional. I'm like in a great mood. It's like I'm doing really well right now, but it's just I've been sentimental lately. And so this video is geared toward helping as many people as possible to understand 4 fundamental principles that I used to change my life when I was broke and struggling and having a really hard time with my depression and what was going on. So I'm gonna jump into that right now. If you've never watched a video from me before, first of all, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Roberto Blake. I'm a creative entrepreneur. I have a successful social media coaching business. Before that, I was a freelancer. I'm really into photography and graphic design, and those high-level skills changed my life and gave me a career. I used to, when I started working as a young adult, I was making $6 an hour because that's what the minimum wage was back in the early 2000s. When I became an assistant manager at KB Toys, I felt really lucky to be making $10 an hour, but it was never enough money and I always had to do things on the side to make more money because I was broke. And I didn't have the money to go to a really good school, so I went to community college, and I was obsessed with the idea of never starting my adult life in debt. A lot of my friends had these ridiculous student loans. Some of them are still paying them off to this day, years later. And it's just a bad situation. The whole student loan debt situation is god awful. My siblings are still dealing with it and I try to help them where I can. So I worked an extraordinary amount of hours to pay for my classes at community college, cash semester to semester. Sometimes I couldn't take a full course load. And you have to remember, this is the early 2000s, so things were a little bit different as far as what things cost back then. There were 4 things in life that if I had known sooner would have made all the difference in the world, would have eased many of my struggles or allowed me to avoid them entirely. And I'm just gonna tell you what those 4 things are. Again, before I built my business, before I became a public speaker, before I ever got on YouTube, I had the simple jobs that everybody has. I did retail, I worked at the mall. When I was a teenager, it was doing lawn care and mowing grass, but there's a lot of things that I've learned over the years that I think change your ability to earn more money. And there's 4 priorities. First of all, you do need to make more money. You also need to have financial literacy. You need to understand how to save money, and you need to know how to invest in yourself. Learning these 4 things over the years fundamentally changed my life. I don't think I could have gotten to a level where I could be financially independent, had built a 6-figure business for myself, and prior to even that, had a good paying salary in corporate America. So I'm gonna teach you these 4 foundation principles. I'm gonna teach you how to make more money. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a background on becoming more financially literate and understanding how money works and the things that most of us, when we're from the middle class or the working class, we never get told these things. So I'm gonna teach you that. I'm gonna tell you some things I learned over the years about saving money that changed my life. And then I'm gonna tell you about how to invest in yourself, which I think is the most important thing you could possibly do. So I'm going to invite you to stay tuned for the rest of this video. And if you want to know how to make money, especially online, I've done a lot of videos like that here on the channel. You should subscribe, hit notifications, watch those videos. For those of you who need something really hands-on and practical, I have a video on how to start freelancing and making money because I used basic camera gear and skills I had. Before that, I used free software, and I was using free software and then later my camera skills to make money. And there's more ways to do that online than when I got started. So, if you want to hit subscribe, you can get those videos. So let's talk about how to make more money. One of the things that I did immediately when I wanted to make more money was I just kept taking more of my time and throwing it at more jobs and more work. And that at the time wasn't as practical as you would think, just because they weren't paying enough. So the best thing I think you can do is, when it comes to this, instead of taking on another part-time job, if you think about immediate cash flow, there's this thing called the gig economy, and that has to do with freelancing, something I talk about a lot on this channel. I have like a whole series on freelancing, and the reason I bring this up is because by learning photography, it meant that when I needed extra cash, I could shoot headshots for people, I could make a few extra bucks. When friends and family members let me know that there was a wedding going on, I could try and get that wedding gig, and then in a weekend, I could make a few $100s, something that I couldn't do. Like, I was working all week to make that same money in a weekend by being an assistant photographer or by being the main shooter at a wedding. So by being able to put a little bit of money into getting a decent camera and a couple of good lenses, I was able to turn that around and start making extra money, especially during the spring and the summer. Using my computer skills, I was able to make money on the side helping people set up their computer or set up their home office or their small business. And so whenever I wasn't working, a regular day job and working those, 8 and 10 hour shifts, I was taking that extra time and doing things that could pay me money that day, that same day. So that's cash flow. Now, here's another thing you need to look at. I'm talking about making more money. Just spending more time at it isn't going to work by itself. Raising your skill level so you're worth more money actually matters. That's how I got from going in a retail environment where I'm like making $6 to $10 an hour to being in a corporate environment where I'm getting a higher salary and I'm doing a lot better. And the skills that I used for that were digital skills. I used graphic design, web design, and things of that nature, learning tools like Photoshop, learning video editing, learning these programs, this software, which is stuff I teach you here on the YouTube channel for free. I learned most of that on my own, but I also went to school for it to learn a lot about these principles behind it. But ultimately, I learned a lot of it on my own, and this is back in the primitive days of the internet, and I learned a lot from books. This is back in the AOL days, just so that you understand what I'm talking about here. But by making myself worth more money, that was the best way to start earning more. So I'm gonna recommend that you learn high-level skills. Right now, there are a lot of high-level skills that don't require a degree. You don't have to start your life in debt, or you don't have to go back to school and get into even more debt just to get a high-paying skill. And again, there are opportunities in the market. Not everybody is going to screen you out or ignore you because you don't have a degree. That is fear-based marketing that is based on getting you 6 figures into debt so that you go to college. That's the business model for that. There are people, and I've interviewed people on this YouTube channel that used platforms like Pinterest, Instagram, LinkedIn to get their skills, get side jobs, and then built those things into substantial businesses that allowed them to take care of their family. Or they were able to get a job in corporate America doing that as a marketing manager in corporate America without a degree, just because, again, there are not really that many degrees in social media. Traditional marketing is not favored as much because we're now in this data-driven world and people want to leverage social media and content marketing a lot more. So again, this is something that you can learn for free, take advantage of, get a higher level skill, start making more money. But making more money, if you and by the way, there's another thing to keep in context here, because some of you will say, well, Roberto, I'm in a small town, or I'm in a country where there's not a lot of opportunity. The digital marketplace, the internet, means that you can sell your skills and your abilities to anybody in the world, anywhere in the world where there's money. So guess what? Sell those skills to the people in California and New York that have the money. That's just what it is. And if you can afford to, maybe you move to where there's better job opportunities. Also, by the way, I'm gonna do a video series, 10 websites, and then I'll do 10 more. It's gonna probably be a 3-part series. 10 websites for making money online, and then I'll do 10 more websites for making money online, because there are, again, some very accessible ways to where if you just need a little bit of extra cash flow right now, you can do it. What I'm not gonna recommend per se is just thinking you can start a YouTube channel and make money. I never made my living off of YouTube. A lot of people take me out of context on that, and they think that that's the only way I make my money or how I made my money. I did it with client services. I did it by being a freelancer. YouTube is still one of my smaller revenue streams, even though it's pretty lucrative for me. My coaching business makes me a lot more money, so I'm very focused on that. But you can't necessarily just start a business like that and make it successful overnight. I had to work at these things for years. So for immediate cash flow, I'm gonna recommend freelancing. It's always my go-to when it comes to making upfront money. Let's talk about principle number 2. Let's talk about financial literacy. There's a lot I just didn't understand about money when I was a young man. Like, there was a lot that no one ever taught me because I just had people in my life that weren't that experienced with some of the higher level concepts around money, people who were living paycheck to paycheck. That was, what I was surrounded with in terms of my friends and family. There was nobody to teach me any better. So part of that, I would recommend reading books, using articles on the internet, but I'm gonna give you a primer on some things in terms of financial literacy. One of the things that I started to realize was that in terms of how much more money I needed to make, I needed to get to a point to where whatever I needed to live and survive, I needed that to be 50% or lower of however much money I was making, which is really hard. And I'm not expecting you to do that overnight, but I'm saying that's a goal. Your goal shouldn't be, oh, I wanna make 6 figures. Your goal shouldn't be, oh, I wanna make $50,000 or $60,000 a year. You should look at all of your bills, all of your expenses. You should have an accurate accounting of what you spend every single month to survive, and then after that, make a column of everything else that's just an extra. Ideally, you wanna bring in double what you need to survive, ideally double or more what your extras are. And so that's a goal of, well, how do I get that number? Whatever that number looks like. So if you can live and survive off of, let's just say, $20,000 a year, then a good goal for you is to make $50,000 to $60,000 a year. And so start looking at what jobs have a salary of that level, and start trying to position yourself and seeing what it takes to get those jobs. And again, it won't always be a degree. I'm very adamant about that because I want you to understand, even in corporate America, I didn't finish and get a degree. But what really helps is building a network. And a lot of people tell you to go to college for that, but ultimately going to events and conferences and volunteering, that's how you make connections. And ultimately, it's not what you know, it's who you know. That saying has been around forever, and it's absolutely true. Even right now, if you're skeptical about any of this, here's the thing. There's somebody right now that has a job and has a good salary that you can probably say, I'm not sure that they earned it. You probably know someone who has a good job or a good salary that they got the job because of who they know. You know someone with a good job and a good salary that doesn't have a degree in that field, and they got the gig anyway. How did they do it? Your best bet is to figure that out and play that game instead of playing the conventional game, because there's plenty of people walking around with 4 and 6 year degrees that are unemployed or are not working in the industry that they got their degree in, or are underemployed and underpaid and undervalued while being absolutely overqualified. Don't be them. Playing the game is another way of earning your way. But let's go back to some things about financial literacy. So besides knowing how to budget properly, knowing exactly how much money you have coming in, knowing exactly how much money you have coming out every month, something I also didn't understand was credit. Now, I'm not gonna give you credit advice or tell you how to get a good credit score. There are plenty of channels on YouTube that can do that, and free articles, and you should read them. But what I didn't understand about credit was that I should be building it. I lived in fear of it because credit to me, when I heard the word credit, I heard the word debt. And that meant I was avoiding it like the plague, just like with the student loan thing. It was smart to avoid the student loans. It wasn't smart to avoid credit. Building credit and building a credit history and a credit score is important because it makes you part of the system, which sounds horrible and it sucks, but there's just things they won't let you do without a credit card and without good credit, and it can make your life easier. The other thing is, if you use it responsibly, you get these points and perks that actually save you hundreds of dollars a year, or get you credits, or get you something free that you would spend money on. So it's another way to actually save money And in some cases, it's almost like making money, depending on how you use it, which means if you can afford to buy something cash but use your credit card, you start accumulating these points, well, all of a sudden, what's the difference? But you might get another $25 or $50 out of it at the end of the road because you're not paying the interest because you're paying it off. So, I mean, that's just something to think about. And it's really helped me, especially with emergencies and travel. But I spent years having to learn that and never taking advantage of it. And it sucks because it means that in many cases, I overpaid for things because I would have gotten a discount for just having a credit card to put it on, or some of these things have discounts built in or cash back rewards. So I was actually losing money by trying to do everything cash and carry and not taking advantage of credit. The other thing is you get a better interest rate on things like your car. When you're ready to buy a house and become a homeowner, you get a better interest rate. So again, it costs more money to be ignorant about credit than to build it up and to take advantage of it. So educate yourself about credit. And like I said, there are other YouTube channels that can tell you all about that. In fact, for financial literacy as a whole, there's a great YouTube channel called The Financial Diet. I'm gonna link to it up here. But it's probably one of the best YouTube channels to educate yourself about personal finance and about money as a whole. Let's talk a little bit about saving money. You should definitely always be saving money, and you should save money, and I would prioritize saving money in things that are tax deductible. Now, I'm not gonna give you advice about your taxes. I'm not gonna give you advice about accounting or legal stuff because I'm not an accountant, I'm not certified to do that. What I'm gonna tell you is this. What I like to do is I look at the things that are tax deductible, like a healthcare savings account is deductible. If you do your own type of 401k, in my case as a self-employed person, it's called a SEP. Or if you do a traditional IRA, these are things that are tax deductible. So in terms of saving money, I prioritize the thing that is going to be money that's not taxed first, and then I have my actual savings account. And then me personally, I like to take a certain amount of money and I like to personally put it into my index funds. I use an app on my phone called ACORNS. I'm gonna link to that down below if you guys want. And they do this kind of thing where, if you put in any amount of money, I think we both get like $5 extra contributed to our index funds. But basically, it's a way to have my money in the stock market in a safe way. By having my money in an index fund, usually because the market is the market, it means that for me, at least from what I understand from what Warren Buffett has said and what I've seen with my own eyes, is that instead of having to deal with the fact that all of your money that's in a savings account in the bank is going to, be less valuable because of inflation, every year it's going to be kind of technically worth less money than it is right now. If it's in the market, that money is working for you and growing. So I went through the trouble of educating myself about those things. And I think that it's been very beneficial because it means that, I'm on the upside of having that money actually produce more money through interest and compound interest instead of losing money's value by being subject to inflation. So by prioritizing money not being taxed and getting that deducted, and then having money that's actually growing for me, that's a better way of just saving and managing that money. And then finally, investing in yourself. Investing in yourself is one of the most important things I think anybody can learn to do. And for me, I invest in things that help me make money. Primary example, knowing that back in the day when I was doing it more freelance, that I would invest in my photography gear because it meant I can get more wedding gigs. I can, do professional headshots for, people that are industry professionals that need a headshot. You want to do like doctors, lawyers, that kind of thing, because they have the money for it. And they're not usually, as cheap. Even with their own family portraits, they like to pay for that. And some people like the idea that a photographer will come out to them. And there are people who want couples photos or engagement photos or special occasions, things of that nature, pictures with, kids and the grandparents. So that's something that I invested in because it would make more money. Same thing with my hardware, things like my laptop, it was making me more money. Software, training. So by trying to invest in yourself, you want to look at what are high-paying, high-profile skills and then invest in the tools and training that give you those skills so you can charge the most money for your time. I also, with investing yourself, I like the idea of investing in building a network. So going to events like conferences and mixers and industry, events for wherever you're trying to connect with people, especially people who are more affluent. I think that that's extremely beneficial to you in terms of making an investment in yourself. Investing in maintaining, a professional appearance can be important, especially if you're competing for high-profile jobs. You want to make sure that you look the part. These are all things that I think come down to really taking a look at yourself and trying to raise your overall value and raise your standards. And I think if you focus on investing yourself, raising your value, raising your standards, having the tools of your trade, making those professional connections, this is gonna be the best use of your time and your money because it stands to gain you the most. I was spending money for years on things as distractions and entertainments, and sometimes you need a break, sometimes you need escapism. I'm not judging that, but I'm saying that it shouldn't be nearly as big as a priority. I would say when it comes to escapism and entertainment, do that as cheaply as possible. And when it comes to investing in things of quality that are built to last or that can make you more money or grant you an opportunity, spend as much as you have to. I would go to cheaping out on things that don't matter as much or don't produce value, and I would try to make sure that I spend as much as possible in something that I could 10x or something I could 5x. Anything where I can get a return on that investment, it's worth investing more. Anything where that money is truly disposable, it's worth a lot less, so spend a lot less on it. That's just my takeaway on that. Also, a little disclaimer, I'm not trying to sell you anything in this video. I'm not selling you a course. The courses or the products that I sell are related to marketing and social media, and that's not really what this video is about. That's how I grew my business, and that's how I make the majority of my money is through coaching and those products. That's not what I'm here to do today. In the description down below, I'm gonna link to some other videos and some resources that you should use in order to kind of grasp a lot more of these things and go deeper with it. But I'm hoping that today I can kind of be your gateway to a larger overall thought process in terms of how you are approaching your relationship with money. If you're broke and you're struggling right now, this is something that I think is a good, helpful, timely video to put out right now, with it being Labor Day. There are a lot of you that right now you're taking the day off from a job that you absolutely hate and despise and that doesn't give you what you really need to take care of yourself, your family, doesn't give you enough that's extra. And so there's a lot of content I've done here on the channel that might help you. There are a lot of other videos that I'm planning. And like I said, while my primary business is my coaching and consulting stuff, like if you're not ready for that, I don't need your money. I'm fine with you doing what you need to do, using the free content material here that I've been making for years before I ever started selling anything, and using that to up your game, because I'm confident 110% that when you do have disposable money to invest in yourself, you're gonna probably wanna do it with me because you know that I delivered for you. So this is part of building that relationship. Also, I really just wish I had had a mentor that could have told me this stuff a decade ago in my life. It would have made all the difference in the world. The most successful people in the world, a lot of them have had mentors to tell them the kind of things that I've shared with you today. And I just didn't have that. I had to learn it the hard way. I had to stumble through a lot of it and hunt it down in books and the internet. And I'm just grateful that I was born in a world where it's just the information is at least out there and is more accessible. And I'm also glad I didn't have to go 6 figures in debt in college to just get a fraction of this information. Anyway, guys, I hope this information was valuable to you. If it was, share this with somebody that you think needs to hear this message and needs to get these 4 priorities straight, that they need to up their game, raise their value, make more money, that they need to become more financially literate, that they need to know how to save money, and that they need to know how to properly invest in themselves. It's the best thing you'll ever do. Question of the day. What is your biggest challenge when it comes to money and what are you really struggling with right now. Be as specific as possible. I'd love to have a very positive conversation in the comment section. If you see somebody and a comment really hits home for you, really is relatable to you, please try to encourage that person or offer them your perspective or advice. Try to be as honest and as comforting to them as possible, because right now I know a lot of you are going through like maybe a very rough patch in your life. And believe me, I've been there. It's something I've been thinking about. I'm so grateful for the life I have right now, but I've been thinking a lot about the past, and I've been really thinking about some people that I miss and that I wish could see and share part of the life that I have right now. And it's part of what's making me make these videos. It's that I can't talk to them about this anymore. They're just not here. So I want you to do me another favor. The people in your life, while you have them, be kind to them, do everything you can for them, and when they need you to listen, just give them that time, please. That would really mean a lot to me, and it's gonna make a real difference for you. It's gonna mean a lot to you. Anyway, guys, like this video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe, hit notifications for more videos, share it with friends. As always, you guys, thanks so very much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. And don't forget, go out there and create something awesome today. Take care.